Vaccines are, I think, the best medicine humans have ever created because they don't just treat disease, they prevent it.
Vaccines are a true marker of progress in the fact that it allows for future generations to not have to suffer the consequence of generations before. For instance, we don't have polio anymore that we have to deal with that was literally causing the lives of tens of thousands of persons a year. We don't have to worry about outbreaks of mumps and measles and rubella. We've managed to contain those disease processes, and it truly is the medicine's greatest invention.
And now with over 500,000 people in the United States having died of coronavirus and many more having been hospitalized or suffering long-term outcomes from COVID-19, it's really imperative that we prevent more people from suffering these outcomes. And vaccination is the path forward to being able to do that.
You do it for you do it for friends, you do it for family, and you do it for your community.
So COVID-19 vaccines have received emergency use authorization, or EUA, from the US FDA based on many safety and efficacy trials in humans. These vaccines were developed and then they were tested in thousands of people as part of a clinical vaccine trial conducted across the country.
As an example, both the Pfizer and Moderna vaccines were tested in upwards of 30,000 people each.
Voluntarios como yo, que participaron en los ensayos, ayudaron a que esto sucediera. Así es que yo tengo confianza que hay mucha seguridad. Aparte de todo, ahora que se han vacunado tantos y tantos millones de personas, ya se ve que eso sí, que es una vacuna muy segura.
We have administered tens of millions of COVID-19 vaccines over the past few months with very few adverse reactions. Most adverse reactions include pain at the site of injection, some fatigue, or chills that last 1 to 2 days. Most people have almost no adverse reaction, and some people have had more severe allergic reactions, all which have been treated on site with no long-term effects.
Out of every million patients that have had this vaccine at this point, we've had 11 reactions. I'm an anesthesiologist. I give antibiotics every day in the operating room. For every 2,000 patients that receive penicillin, one will have a reaction. So that's the difference in the safety profile of these vaccines, and they've been tremendous in their ability to help reduce the adverse effects that we see from COVID-19 infections.
We've been studying viruses, we've been studying how the immune system works, we've been studying how this particular type of vaccine might function for decades.
Luckily, we already had those many years of research with related viruses, so we were able to apply that knowledge to SARS-CoV-2 and come up with a vaccine in a much, much faster time frame.
The number one thing to understand is that they were prioritized above everything else that's happening right now.
It was a combination of a large amount of money and resources poured into the development of these vaccines, unprecedented collaboration between government, industry, and academia.
Es importante saber si se hizo con rapidez, pero no se tomaron ningunos atajos. Se hicieron todos los estudios que se tuvieron que hacer para estar 100% seguro.
It's really an amazing tour de force of science and medicine.
It takes time after vaccination to determine how durable a vaccine really is.
We're hopeful with this vaccine that we will get the same protection that we see from other vaccines, that at least a year, similar to the flu vaccine that we have one annually. You get your flu shot and we can continue on with life. Now, we don't know for sure though yet at this point.
This might be a vaccine where you might need to tweak it a little bit, just like the influenza vaccine, because we now know the SARS-CoV-2 virus starts mutating and can change.
Viruses evolve to evade immune protection. And so this might be a scenario where we have to get revaccinated in a year or 2 years.
Hay optimismo por lo fuerte que es la reacción inmune de la vacuna, de que sí va a ser duradera. También hay optimismo porque hay gente que ha tenido otras enfermedades causadas por coronavirus, que son los virus que causan el COVID. Y esa gente tiene anticuerpos muchos años luego de la enfermedad.
So right now, the most important thing is that we get everybody vaccinated.
Vaccination is the only safe way to develop herd immunity in the US. And herd immunity is when a majority of the population, greater than 70 to 80%, are immune to an infection due to vaccination or prior infection event. Herd immunity tremendously slows down the spread of the virus from person to person, and it is highly beneficial in protecting those who cannot be vaccinated for any sort of medical reason.
Our children, for instance, are not being vaccinated at this point because they didn't fall into the age range of the clinical trials. So it is up to us, as far as the adults who can actually get this vaccine, to protect those who can't get the vaccine, including those children.
This is a vaccine with twice the efficacy, twice the efficiency of any flu vaccine that we give on a yearly basis. And so we should rejoice. We have a great therapeutic, we have a great medicine here. We should be using it and starting to get our lives back to normal.